right, well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to start with a bit of a back opener heart bend. And we'll start by taking both of our blocks. So the first block will go somewhere towards the upper part of your mat, and you'll put it on its second setting. And then the second block you can put behind it, so it's on its tallest setting, and there's about 3 inches between the two. So the first block goes like this, and the second block will go like this. And then you'll turn around and give yourself a happy hug. So the blocks are now behind you. And the happy hug is just so you can feel where your shoulder blades are. And once you feel where your shoulder blades are, you can release that. Grab the first block and slide your bum forward in order to place the shoulder blades onto the first block. And then you navigate to put your head on the second block. And we want to find the positioning of the blocks, or if you're using the blankets, so your nipple points point straight up towards the ceiling, and your head is supported either by that second block or a pillow. And then allow the arms to open wherever they would like to the right and to the left. And then you can choose to either keep the legs bent as they are or extend the legs long in front of you. And the first thing that you'll do here is just take a few audible inhalations through the nose and exhalations sighing out through the mouth. And depending upon where you've placed your arms, you might start to feel this gentle opening across the front of the chest and maybe into the side ribs. And you'll just take 2 to 3 more breaths in your natural pace, allowing big audible sighs out of the mouth, allowing your body to just sort of fall into the support beneath you. And then gradually, we'll start to just bring your awareness to the length of your exhalation and see if you can make the exhalation about 2 counts longer than the in-breath. So maybe your in-breath is a 4-count pulse. And so you start to make the exhalation about a 6-count pulse. And just notice the effect that this slowing down of the exhalation starts to have. It starts to allow the mind to settle as the body continues to ground. And for these next 3 to 6 cycles of breath, I'd like you to continue to focus on making the exhalation just a little bit longer than the inhalation, not through force, but just simply by letting go and allowing. And then we'll start to shape the breath a bit more. So as you inhale, breathe into the belly, the low back, and the pelvis. And exhale from the belly, the low back, and the pelvis. You'll do that 2 more times on your own, inhaling into the belly, the low back, and the pelvis. And exhaling from the belly, the low back, and the pelvis. And last one, big breath into the abdomen, into the lower back, into the pelvic floor, and then softening through the pelvic floor, the abdomen, and the low back. Now draw your awareness to the space behind your ribs where that prop is, and you'll breathe into the ribs, breathing wide and back. And then slow exhalation from the ribs, allowing the front ribs to soften towards the floor. And you'll just do 2 more like that, inhaling, breathing back and wide. And exhaling, allowing the rib cage to soften and close, front ribs to soften down. And last one. And you're just still working with how full you can breathe and how long you can make that exhalation just a little bit longer than the in-breath. And then for a third set here, you'll breathe into the collarbone. So that space between the 2 props, you'll inhale into the collarbones, the armpits, the upper chest. And then exhale from the collarbones, the armpits, the upper chest. And you'll just take 2 more like that, noticing how full you can really breathe into this upper register of the lobes of your lungs. Noticing how much space you can create between the upper thoracic spine, so the ribs up there. And then just noticing how soft you can continue to make that exhalation. Now for the next 3 breaths, we'll just combine all of that together. So you'll inhale into the belly, into the ribs, into the chest, and then you'll exhale from the chest, through the ribs, and through the belly. And you'll do 2 more of those on your own, and you might notice that a yawn starts to appear as you take in this deeper breath, and you can really allow that yawn to happen. And you can allow a sigh to happen if that happens. And you'll just allow yourself for these last breath cycle here to notice how the breath is moving in this moment. Nice work. From here, start to tone the back of your throat and find a natural Ujjayi pranayama, finding what's called samavriti, an equal inhalation and an equal exhalation. Letting the breath be steady, letting the breath be smooth, and letting the breath continue to have a sound to it, a sonorous quality, so that that can be your anchor for the remainder of our practice. And then very gently, you'll bring your hands to the back of your head. Go ahead and hold your head with both of your hands. Use one hand to remove whatever prop is underneath your head, and then re-hold your head with both hands. Now, we've got about 5 to 10 breath cycles here. I encourage you to take a double chin. So it's like you're tucking your chin back towards your neck, and then you'll allow your head to fall back into your hands as you pull your hands into your head. Your elbows might start to come together as your head falls backwards over your prop. And then you'll just take 5 to 10 breaths, moving in any way that feels good to you. So maybe one elbow inches away from your hip, maybe the other elbow inches away from the hip. Maybe you take a lateral side bend to the right, to the left. Maybe you tuck your chin to your chest a little bit more and lift your gaze towards your navel. Or maybe you start to take your gaze a little bit further up along the ceiling and back behind you, finding a little bit more upper extension. But you've got another 5 breath cycles here, really just breathing, really just noticing what's happening for you. And continuing to allow yourself to soften, make that exhalation easy and even, and the inhalation easy and even, and continue to hear your breath. Bless you. Awesome sauce. All right, from here, go ahead and come to a neutral spine. If your legs are long, you might keep them that way, or you might bend your knees, but you're going to tuck your chin towards your chest and start to look towards your toes. If your legs are long, flex through your legs a lot, push down through the heels, lengthen your tailbone down. From here, you'll start to tuck your chin to your chest a little bit more so you can lift more of your shoulders up and towards the top part of your block. From there, extend your hands forward so they're parallel to your thighs. And then from here, keep curling your tailbone forward, keep tucking your chin to your chest, and see if you can lift and hover 1 inch away from your block. Oh, buddy, man, good job. Keep curling your tailbone under, keep reaching your fingers forward, curl 2 inches up. And then you'll continue that action until your fingers pull you forward, your tailbone curls under, and you find yourself sitting up in staff pose, arms parallel to your legs. Awesome stuff. Cool. Once you're seated up, go ahead and reach around, grab your prop, and put it in your hands. You could keep your legs long, or you can keep your knees bent, but you're going to push into your block just about 10 to 20%. From there, inhale, sweep your arms up on a little bit of a diagonal, and then exhale, draw them back to parallel to the floor. Now inhale here, sit up tall. As you exhale, chin to chest, your head starts to reach towards your block. Curl your tailbone under towards your heels, and slowly, slowly, slowly roll your spine all the way down to the floor. Lightly push into your block, lightly push down into your legs. When your chest hits and your shoulders hit and your back of head hits, you'll inhale and reach your block up and over your head. Maybe it'll touch the floor, maybe it won't. And then you'll exhale and draw the block back over your rib cage. From there, inhale and draw the block over to your right. It'll only go about 4 to 5 inches. And then exhale back to center. And then inhale, draw it over to your left. And then exhale back to center. Inhale, keep the block here. And as you exhale, tuck your chin to your chest, start to curl your head to your block, and start to roll all the way back up to that seated Dandasana position, staff pose with arms parallel to the floor. Oh, buddy, nice job. This time, inhale, sweep the arms up, and they might come a little further up and overhead. And exhale, arms back, parallel to the floor. Inhale here, lightly squeeze your block. And exhale, curl the tailbone under, curl the chin to your chest, and slowly roll all the way down, bone by bone. You lightly squeeze the block, you curl the tailbone under, you push down through the legs and the feet. When the head hits, you inhale and sweep the block up and overhead. And then you exhale and draw the block back over your chest. And then we'll repeat that side bend thing. So inhale this time to the left first. And exhale back to center. And inhale to your right. And exhale back to center. Inhale, reach up through the arms. And then exhale, tuck your chin to your chest. Start to curl your head to the block. Reach the block forward towards your toes. Roll through the spine until you come all the way up for staff pose, Dandasana. Nice work. Inhale, sweep the block up and overhead once again. Lightly squeeze the block here. And exhale, return it back towards parallel to the floor. And here's your last set. You'll inhale, sit as tall as you can. And then exhale, curl tailbone under, curl head in, slowly roll down your spine bone by bone, reaching out and away as you slowly descend the spine down. When your shoulders hit and your head hits, you'll inhale and sweep that block up and over your head. And then exhale, draw it back over the heart. Great. And then inhale here, take the block to the right. And exhale back through center. And then inhale over to the left. And back to center. And then inhale, reach that block forward and come up to sit. Last and final time, chin to chest as you exhale, slowly roll up. Pilates, roll up. Here we go. Hooray! Nice job. Once you're vertical, reach the arms up and overhead. Lightly squeeze the block here. Sit as tall as you can. And then exhale, release the block off to the side and slowly make your way onto your back. And you can take that roll down once again, or you can just be like, Jessica, I'm gonna lay down, but you're gonna lay down once again. Now, once you find yourself on your back, go ahead and cactus your arms out to the right and to the left, and you can keep them cactus or you can straighten the elbows. It depends upon what feels good to you. And then bend both of your knees, plant your feet firmly on the floor. Inhale here, and as you exhale, lift your pelvis up, slide your pelvis to the left and put your bum back down. Inhale, send the right leg up towards the sky. And as you exhale, cross that right leg over the left thigh and pull both legs over towards the right. Inhale, come back up through center. And then exhale, pull the legs to the right again. And you've got 3 more of these on your own. And you're just gradually deepening the twist. And you're resisting with that left leg as you pull both knees over to the right, finding a little bit of an IT band stretch here. And then on your 4th set, when the legs go over to the right, you'll just stay there and take 3 steady breaths on your own. And you'll notice that the more you pull down with the right shin, you can press up with the left outer shin. You might reach your right rib cage to the right a little bit more to get the left shoulder blade more onto the floor, but you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And then on your next inhalation, you'll gently come back up through center, unwind your legs. And then lift your bum up, slide it over to the right, and put your pelvis back down. Inhale, reach the left leg up, and exhale, cross the left thigh over as you drag both legs over to the left. And then slow inhalation back through center. And exhale towards the left. And you'll just take 3 more of these on your own. And we're just keeping the feet on the floor for the moment so that it can be a steady, gentle waking up of the lower spine. We spend a lot of time sitting, so we need to be mindful of this right now. And then the next time the legs happen to fall over to the left, you'll stay there. Lightly pull down with that left shin. Press up with your right shin. Maybe inchworm the left hand to the left so the left rib cage goes to the left and the right shoulder can soften to the floor. And then you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And on your next inhalation, gently come back up through center. And exhale, uncross the legs, draw the hips underneath the shoulders and not hands alongside your hips. Okay. Now make sure your feet are about hip distance apart, and then inhale, push through your feet, lift your hips, reach your arms up and overhead behind you. And then as you exhale, keep the hands on the floor, but slowly roll the spine all the way down until your bum hits the floor once again. From there, inhale, push through the feet, lift your pelvis up. And then exhale, hands and hips come back to your starting position. And we'll do about 3 sets of these. So inhale, push through the feet, lift the hips, lift the arms. Exhale, keep the fingers reaching back on the floor as you roll the spine down bone by bone. Next in-breath, push through the feet, lift your hips high. And then exhale, hands and hips come back down to the starting position. We'll do 1 more set. Inhale, push through the feet, lift the hips, lift the arms, long, steady breath in. Exhale, slowly low, just the vertebra to the floor, bone by bone. Inhale, press the feet, lift the hips. And then exhale, keep the hips, but just lower the hands. Fake out. Now, once you're here, keep the hips high, shrug your right shoulder up towards your right ear, wrap it under, shrug the left shoulder up to the left ear, wrap it under. You might clasp opposite hands. You might just push the palms into the floor and feel these shoulder blades hugging together on your back. Now, wherever you are, let's press down into the big toes a little bit more so your inner thighs, can roll down to the floor. Then press into your pinky toes with the whole outer hips up. Now, if for some reason, imagine that you had your own hand on your bum. Slide your bum down towards your knees as you push down into the backs of your arms to lift the chest. Draw the sternum a little closer to your chin and then press straight down in the middle of your head. And you've got 3 more steady breaths here. See if you can engage the backs of the legs just a little bit to lift the hips a little higher. And then notice if you can calm the sound of your breath, letting it be steady, letting it be easy. On your next exhalation, gently unclasp the hands if they're clasped, untuck the shoulders, and bring your pelvis back down to the floor and pause. Just observe and notice what's talking to you in your body. Notice how the breath is moving. Notice how the energy is moving. And then we'll go ahead and grab a block, slide it between your inner upper thighs. Once that block's between your inner upper thighs, go ahead and draw your knees towards your chest and extend your feet up towards the floor until your legs are about perpendicular to the floor. So a little 90-degree angle. Flex through your feet, slightly hug your block. Yep, you're good, Tim. And maybe you can straighten the legs up towards the sky if that works. Yep. And then from here, you might bring your hands to the back of your head. And we'll all bring our hands to the back of our head. Great. Take a big breath in here and take a big breath out. Now, as you inhale, press your low back into the floor. And as you exhale, lightly squeeze your block, lift your tailbone, keep that. Inhale, tuck your chin to your chest and lift your elbows and shoulders and head off the floor. Exhale, lightly squeeze your block and then lift your tailbone at the end. Inhale, stay here, low back pushes into the floor, shoulders lift a little higher. Exhale, tailbone lift, squeeze your block, reach your feet up. 2 more. Inhale, breathe into your low back, maybe lift the shoulders up a little bit more. Exhale, squeeze that block, tailbone lifts up, so butt lifts 0.5 millimeter, toes reach up. And last time, inhale, breathe into the low back, lift the elbows up, lift the shoulders up. Exhale, squeeze your block, lift your tailbone, and then inhale, release. And exhale, lower everything down to the floor. Hooray, forest yoga. Gotta love those small little things. All right, go ahead and remove that block. Draw your knees into your chest. And then tuck your chin to your chest once again. And you might rock a little bit right to left if that feels good to you. Great. Let's go ahead and come to stillness here. Tuck your chin to your chest. Hug your abdomen into your back body into the floor. And you're going to start to rock and roll about 5 to 10 times to come up to sit. And as best as you can, see if you can do this without so much leg momentum. I know that's easier said than done. You're seeing how the little core muscles can bring you all the way up to sit. And once you've done your 5 to 10, you'll go ahead and sit all the way up. And then we'll make our way over onto our hands and our knees, tabletop position. Now, highly encouraged at this point to put both of your blocks towards the upper outer corners of the mat. Also highly encouraged to pad your knees with a blanket if your knees happen to be sensitive. Awesome sauce. And then once you find yourself there, take your hands directly underneath your shoulders. We're now on tabletop, and I want you to start to walk your fingers out to the right and to the left, and then walk your fingers back so they point towards your knees. Separate your hands as far as your shoulders, or maybe a little further apart until it feels good on your wrists. Great. And then inhale, you'll lower your belly, lift your gaze, lift your bum, little baby cow with reverse stretch. And then exhale, push down into your hands and wide through your thumbs as you round through your spine. And you've got 4 more like that. So inhale, pull the hands isometrically back towards your knees, heart reaches forward, head lifts. And then exhale, round through your spine, push down through your arms and isometrically pull your thumbs apart. And you've got 2 more on your own. Inhale, pulling the hands back so they don't actually move, but the energy is pulling the hands back. And then the exhale presses the hands down and pushes them wide, breathing into your upper thoracic spine. And last time, inhale, pulling the hands back, reaching the heart forward, lifting your bum. And then exhaling, pushing down through the hands, wrapping wide through the shoulders. Awesome sauce. Adding on. Inhale, coming forward, little baby cow shape. Exhale, press your hips back towards your heels so we find a fun stretch across the front of our forearm. And then inhale, come forward. And exhale, pulse back. So we're just going a little forward and back this time, keeping the spine just as it is. Noticing what this feels like now on the backs of our wrists. So before we were working the shoulders and the wrists, and now we're doing the shoulders and the wrists in a very different orientation. And then on your next in-breath, go ahead and come to a neutral spine. Bring your hands to the normal orientation, and you might want to take a little wrist circle with one hand or a little wrist circle with the other. And then when you feel complete with that, go ahead and come back to hands and knees. Tuck both sets of toes under. Walk your toes over to the right. Walk your right hand forward and to the right, and go ahead and roll onto your outer right hand, right knee. Grab your left foot with your left hand. Now draw your left heel as close to your bum as possible, so your heel and your butt touch. Keep that. Lengthen your tailbone down towards your left knee, lifting your left knee parallel to the floor. Option is stay right here if this is enough of a stretch across the front of your left thigh. Otherwise, you'll start to kick your left knee back, left foot back, and find a little stretch across the front of your left chest. Now listen very closely. Keep lengthening your tailbone to your left knee. Lower your right ear towards your right shoulder and breathe into the left side of your neck. And if that's working for you, stay there or turn your gaze down to your right hand and breathe into the left side of your left neck. Awesome sauce. Gently draw the head back to neutral. Draw your left heel closer to your butt and release your left leg so your left leg is now parallel to the floor, right back behind you like you're in half moon. Awesome sauce. Now as you inhale, lower your left long leg towards the floor and exhale, float the leg back up. And you've got 4 of these. So inhale, the leg lowers towards the floor. And exhale, it comes back up. 3 more. Inhale down. And exhale up. Inhale down. Exhale up. And last one. Inhale down. And exhale up. Okay. Inhale, lower that left leg to the floor again. Put the whole foot, bottom of the foot on the floor, and then turn your right foot a little bit more behind you. So the sole of the foot is now behind you. Reach your right hand down to the floor. Reach your left hand down towards the left foot. Michael Jackson pelvic thrust your tailbone forward, and then reach your left arm up and over your head. And then you might stay here and breathe. You might bend your bottom elbow and increase the side bend. You might draw your right ribs forward and under. But take a few moments to pause and breathe here, noticing what it feels like to feel that stretch on the left side body. Nice work. Gently come back to hands and knees, tabletop position. And just take 3 cats and cows here to find a neutral stabilizing position and just see what that feels like for you. Great. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll make your way to a neutral tabletop position. And then we'll try all of that on the other side. So tuck both sets of toes under. Walk your toes to your left. Walk your left hand forward and to the left a little bit. And then roll to the left to stack your right shoulder on top of your left shoulder, right hip on top of the left hip. Bend your right knee and grab your right heel with your right hand. Now lift the inner right thigh so it's parallel to the floor. Lengthen your tailbone to your right knee, and then start to push down into the bottom hand to wrap your rib cage forward and under. You might stay right there if that's enough of a stretch on your right thigh, or start to kick your right foot straight back behind you. Tailbone still lengthens towards your right knee. Now notice what happens if you lower your left ear towards your left shoulder. Breathe into the right side of your neck. Might stay there or take your gaze towards your bottom hand and breathe into the right side of your neck. And then breathe your head back to center. Gently bend the right knee. Release the right foot. So now your right leg is hovering parallel to the floor. Keep pushing down into your bottom hand. And then inhale, lower the right foot towards the floor. And exhale, float it back up. You got 3 more of those. And so this is another muscle group that tends to get really sort of weak with all of our sitting. So if you're finding this hard, no worries, you're in good company. And you're just breathing and moving the leg. I believe that was 4. So here's our last one. So inhale a foot down and exhale, float it up. This time, inhale, lower that right foot all the way to the floor. Make sure the whole bottom of the right foot goes to the floor, and then turn your left foot back behind you a little bit more. Now, push down into your bottom hand, reach out through your top hand, and then sweep your right arm up and over your head so you have a long side body stretch. Now you can bend your bottom elbow as much as you want and move around in any way that you want, but you're just breathing into the side on the right side. So your latissimus dorsi, your QL, and well, some would say your psoas since they're separated only by a thin line of fascia, but you can just feel what feels good to you. And then gently make your way back to hands and knees. And take 3 cats and cows here. And you're just really paying attention to what you're observing. So this week I've been reading a book called Present Through the End. And it's really a companion's guide to individuals that are in the final stages of life. And one of the interesting things that this author talks about quite often is how in certain instances, we can chatter and chatter and chatter and chatter when we really need to just hold space. So we'll come back to a neutral position. Let's go ahead and walk your hands forward about 2 inches. Spread wide through your fingers and tuck your toes under. Make sure your knees are hip distance apart and parallel. And then inhale, lift your gaze, lift your bum. And then exhale, start to press your pelvis back to downward facing dog, keeping the knees bent for this first one. And just take 2 breath cycles here. Knees bent, hands pushed down and forward, hips lift up and back. Great. And then inhale, come to hands and knees, little baby cow shape. As you exhale, tops of the feet come to the floor, press back to a modified child's pose, legs stay parallel. And then inhale, come back to hands and knees. And exhale, press back to downward facing dog. So this little thing is called chakra vrksasana. We'll do it 3 more times. So go ahead and inhale and come forward, maybe 5 counts to little baby cow shape. And then take 5 counts to press back to that modified child's pose. And then a slow 5 count inhalation to come back to that baby cow shape. And then 5 counts to make your way back to downward facing dog. And you'll repeat this on your own, and maybe the next one will be a 6 count inhalation to that little baby cow shape. And that would be followed by a 6 count exhalation back to little baby child's pose. And then another 6 counts back to your cow shape. And 6 counts back to downward facing dog. Now, as you take these last sets on your own, maybe the breath extends to 7 counts through each shape. And as you're working with your breath, can you allow the breath and the movement to be equal? So you get to the apex of the shape at the depth of the breath, and you extend the breath and you slow down the movement so that everything arrives at the same time. What Kristen DeLeo talked about, she's the author of this book, is that very often what's most important, both, well, in all stages of life, is really our presence, the ability to be fully connected to what's happening in any given moment. And you'll go ahead and take 1 more set, maybe making this next one an 8 count in breath and an 8 count exhalation. And then when you find yourself at your downward facing dog this next time, for that final 8-count breath, you'll just take 3 steady breath cycles there, allowing yourself to start to just check in, to really hone in and listen to the breath, listen to the signals and the sensations of the body, and letting that be sufficient. And then go ahead and inhale, gaze to the top of your space, and exhale, step your feet towards your hands. Once you get to the top of your space, separate your feet about hip distance apart, grab opposite elbow, and just take a moment to hang here. Maybe you move a little bit, maybe you don't, but you'll just take a moment to breathe. And then gently come to stillness. Release your hands down towards the floor. Inhale, slide your fingers up your shins, lift your spine halfway. And then exhale, slowly fold all the way in. And you've got 2 more of those. And just follow your own breath. Inhaling, coming up, reaching out through the spine. And exhaling, folding all the way in. And last time, inhale, coming all the way up. And exhaling, folding all the way in. Okay, adding on. Inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, pause here. Press your shins forward. Lightly push your hands back and then slide the shoulders away from the ears. Reach your pubic bone back, and your sternum forward. And then just notice the amount of engagement that's already happening in the backs of the legs and in the back body. Bring one hand to one hip. Draw the other hand to the other hip. And then inhale, bend both of your knees, sit your butt back, and bring your spine up to vertical. Pause here. Lengthen your arms alongside your hips. And then inhale, sweep your arms forward for chair pose. Take a breath in here. And take a breath out. Inhale, push through the feet, reach up through the arms, stand up, look up, reach up. And then exhale, lower your hands through heart center and alongside your hips. Let's add on. Inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward at your hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms and step your left knee long and back. Pause. Lower the left knee to the floor, bring your spine up to vertical and bring both hands onto the front of your top of your front thigh. Now push down into your front foot, push down into your back knee, suck those points together. Make sure your back toes are curled under. And you might stay exactly here as you are, or you might open your arms out to the right and to the left. Tuck your thumb towards your pinky finger and wrap the other 4 fingers around your thumb. Now take a big breath in here. As you exhale, squeeze your back glute. And then inhale, lift your back knee off the floor, straighten the front leg long, lift up. And then exhale, bend the front knee, and then lower the back knee down. So we've got 4 of these. Inhale, straighten the back leg, straighten the front leg, lift up. Exhale, bend the front knee, lower down, lower the back knee. 3 more. Inhale, straighten the back leg, straighten the front leg, lift up. Exhale, bend the front knee, bend the back knee, lower down. Inhale, straighten the back leg, straighten the front leg, lift up. Exhale, bend the front knee, bend the back knee, lower down. Slight variation. Inhale, just straighten the back leg. Pause, hug your feet together. Turn your palms to face up and then reach your arms up and overhead. Keep squeezing your legs together. Reach up through the fingers, maybe look up through the gaze. And on your next exhale, hands come to the floor, framing your front foot, low lunge. Step your right foot back, plank pose. And we'll pause here for 3 steady breaths. Breathe in, breathe out. Notice how much longer you can make the exhalation. And then when you're ready, bend your knees, press your hips up and back, downward facing dog, 3 steady breaths. And you'll just notice what you notice here. Great. Inhale, gaze to your hands. And exhale, bend your knees and take your feet towards your hands. Yep. Once you get to the top of your space, feet are hip distance apart. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold all the way in. Inhale, bend your knees, sit your pelvis down, reach your arms up, chair pose. And exhale, sit a little lower. Yep. Inhale, stand up, reach up, look up. And exhale, hands through heart center and alongside your hips. Other side. Inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale, hinge forward at your hips, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step your right leg long and back. Lower your right knee to the floor and pause, and then bring the spine all the way up to vertical. Hands are on the center of that front thigh, and you'll just take a moment to stabilize here. You're really pushing into your front foot, pushing into your back knee, sucking those points together. And then hands either stay here on the front of the left thigh, or arms reach out, thumbs come to pinky finger, and other fingers wrap around. Great. Take a breath in here. As you exhale, squeeze your back butt cheek. Inhale, straighten your back leg long, straighten your front leg long, lift up. And then exhale, bend your front knee, lower down, bend the back knee. 3 more. Inhale, straighten the back leg, straighten the front leg, lift up. And exhale, bend the front knee, lower the pelvis, lower the back knee. 2 more. Inhale, straighten the back leg, straighten the front leg, lift up. And exhale, bend the front knee, lower the pelvis, bend the back knee. Inhale, straighten the back knee, straighten the front leg, lift up. And exhale, bend the front knee, lower the pelvis, lower the back knee. Great, here's our variation. Inhale, straighten just the back leg. Push down into the front foot, hug the outer right hip forward. Maybe turn the palms up and reach the arms up and overhead, reaching up through the fingers, the sternum, and the gaze. Nice work, guys. Exhale, hands come down towards the floor, low lunge. And then step back, plank pose. Pause here. 3 steady breaths. And as you're here, see if you can keep lifting through those inner thighs. Lengthen your tailbone back and reach your heart and sternum forward. Now, if you'd like, you'll shift your weight forward, maybe lower the knees down, maybe not, but one little chaturanga hover. And you'll breathe for 3, keep the heads lifted for 2, and for 1, push back up to plank, and then push back up to downward facing dog. 3 breaths. And just notice what you notice. Awesome sauce. All right, inhale, gaze to your hands. And exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, and travel to the top of your space. Once you get to the top of your space, make sure your feet are hip distance apart. And then inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold in. Inhale, sit, chair pose, Utkatasana. And this time we've got a slight variation. I want you to all look down at your feet every time we do this, just to make sure that your knees and toes are aligned. But you'll inhale, push through the right foot, lift the left leg, come up, one-legged Tadasana. And then you'll exhale, lower the left foot back down, sit back down for chair pose. And on the other side, push down through the left leg, lift up through the right, one-legged Tadasana. And then exhale, sitting back for chair pose, making sure knees and toes are aligned. And you got 2 more sets on your own. And you're just following your breath, noticing that this might be increasing your heart rate a little. And that's okay. And my knee and glute people, this probably doesn't feel so great. And that's okay too, as long as we're being mindful of how the knees are tracking. And I believe this should be our last set. And then the next time you're in chair, you'll just stay there for chair in a pose or in a moment. Take a big breath in here. And then exhale out. Inhale, stand up, reach up, look up. And exhale, hands through heart center alongside your hips. And just take 3 steady breaths here. Noticing what you notice and letting yourself be with the breath. These pauses, as she says, and silence in conversation are as important as the words that are spoken. Just like these pauses that we take in our practice are as important as the movement. So you're just noticing what you notice here. And then we'll add on. If you need to, your blocks are alongside your upper part of your mat and they're there for a steadying agent, but if not, you may not need them. So go ahead and inhale, open your arms out, right and left. As you exhale, give yourself a hug, wrapping your right arm on top, left arm underneath. You might stay there, or you might double wrap the arms. In either case, you'll inhale, push your elbows forward and up, and maybe look up. And then exhale, pull them down, and maybe look down. And you've just got 2 more of those. So inhale, elbows go forward and up, breathing into your back of the body. And exhaling, they come down. And last one, inhale, elbows go forward and up. And exhale, they go forward and down. And then on your next in-breath, lift the elbows so they're in line with your shoulders. As you exhale, bend your knees for chair pose. Then inhale, just lift your left leg, cross the left thigh over, and maybe hook the left toes behind the back of the right calf, or maybe they touch the block or the floor to the right, but you'll take 3 steady breaths here, noticing what you notice. Nice job, guys. And then inhale, unwind Urdhva Hastasana, left foot on the floor, both arms reach up. And exhale, hands through heart center alongside your hips. Nice job. Let's go ahead and try the other side. So before we do, just pause and notice what you notice. How can we allow ourselves to be still and to be fully present in the face of life, however it shows up? Great. All right. Inhale, arms open out. And then exhale, give yourself a hug. This time, right arm underneath, left arm on top. Maybe you stay here, or maybe you double wrap the arms. But then you'll take some more of those shoulder flossing. So inhale, the elbows go forward and up, and gaze might go up or it might go down this time. And then exhale, elbows go down, and maybe gaze go down, or maybe gaze goes up. So just take 2 more of those on your own, noticing what you notice. I find that when the head goes in opposition to the elbows, I feel one thing. And when it goes in the same alignment, I feel another. And so you're just observing for you what's happening. And then on your next in-breath, you'll bring the elbows in line with the shoulders, the head right on top of the pelvis. Exhale, bend both of your knees, sending your bum back. Inhale to float that right leg up, cross the right thigh over, and maybe tuck those toes at the back of the left calf, or maybe onto the block to the left, and you'll just pause and you'll breathe. Lift the elbows in line with the tops of the shoulders. Yep. And on your next in-breath, gently unwind. Plant the right foot, arms reach up and overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. And exhale, hands through heart center and alongside your hips. Nice. All right. Just pause and breathe. Notice everything that might be going on in this moment. One of the things I've taken away from this book is that very often what's most needed in all our interactions is just our authenticity. And that's our presence. But very often we fidget and we try to speak and we try to do things, but all we need to do is just show up. And that's all Tadasana is teaching us, how to show up, just as we are. Okay, let's add on. Inhale, circle, sweep your arms up and overhead. And exhale, hinge at your hips, forward fold. Great. Inhale, halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And as you exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, and step back plank pose. Now you can choose to stay here in plank or lower down to forearm plank, but we're going to stay here for about 30 seconds or so. So since we've done a line and hold for a while, 30 seconds should be a breeze. And even if it's not, that's okay. You want to see if you can still breathe. Lift through your inner thighs. Lengthen your tailbone back as you reach your sternum and the crown of your head forward. Yep. And then push down into the floor for dear life until it feels like your shoulders round on the back just a bit. We've got another 3 to 5 breath cycles here. So notice how you can start to elongate the exhalation once again. The long, steady exhalation turns on our parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest, that part we don't have to be constantly on guard. Nice work, guys. When you're ready, slowly lower down onto your bellies. And then you'll just take a moment to pause and you'll take a moment to breathe. Great. Go ahead and bring your hands alongside your hips. Make sure your palms face in towards your body. Then reach your feet back so that the front of your pelvis feels like it's long and flush against the floor. Spread wide through your toes and press the pinky toenail and the big toenail, the top of the foot evenly into the floor. Straighten your legs. Lengthen your tailbone back and then scoop the pubic bone to the navel to the spine. Now from here, just shrug your shoulders up towards your ears and draw your shoulders onto your back. Imagine that for some reason I put a pencil in between the back of your shoulder blades and you wanted to keep squeezing that there. Start to energize your legs even more, energize your arms even more, and so your arms start to reach back. And then imagine for some reason you have a pencil at the tip of your nose. Start to draw a line forward as you reach your arms back, as you squeeze your shoulder blades together and you lift your head up. Nice work. Now keep hugging your shoulders onto your back body. Keep reaching back through your pinky fingers. Keep reaching back through your tailbone. And then notice that you can reach so far back through your inner legs that maybe your toes start to float up and away from the floor. Keep hugging the shoulder blades onto the back body, reaching back through the inner thighs. And on your next exhalation, you'll gently lower all the way down. Bring an ear to the mat and just pause and breathe. And then we'll try that one more time. So forehead comes back to the mat, hands are alongside your hips. Start this time by seeing if you can widen your upper thighs. So it feels like your inner thighs roll up to the ceiling and they roll out to the right and to the left. From there, reach back through the toes, plant the tops of the feet onto the floor, and then straighten your legs. Lengthen your tailbone back through the whole of your legs, and then draw the pubic bone to the belly button to the spine. From there, shrug the shoulders up towards your ears and draw the shoulder blades onto your back. And then keep hugging the shoulder blades onto the back like you're squeezing a pencil there, and then start to reach out through your fingertips. Then draw that line forward with your nose so the chest comes forward to come up, and keep squeezing your shoulder blades onto your back body. So you're holding a block behind your hands. Reach the hands back to lift the chest, lift the chest a little higher, and then start to reach back through the toes to lift the legs off. Keep lengthening tailbone back. Nice work. And when you're ready, maybe lift a little higher and then lower all the way down. Awesome sauce. Great. Okay. From here, go ahead and extend your right arm forward along the floor. Roll over onto your right side and roll over onto your back. When you find yourself on your back, keep your knees bent for just a moment. Bring your hands to the tops of your thighs, so the heels of the hands press near the pelvis, the fingertips press up. Now see if you can lock out your arms so you can find length through the vertebra. Really sink the tops of the thigh bones in towards the floor and allow the whole back of the sacrum to widen. Keep that. Now reach your fingers up towards the sky like happy little zombies. With your palms facing in, reach up through the fingers even more, and then start to reach your arms up and back behind you. As the hands come up and back behind you, the palms might need to face towards the sky, but you're finding as much length as you can on your side body. Draw your front ribs in towards the floor, and then lengthen out through the fingers even more as you reach the hip bones away from the armpits. Nice. All right. Go ahead and reach your hands forward and lower them alongside your hips. Cool. Let's make sure there's nothing underneath your head, and we'll see how this goes. Keep your feet about hip distance apart. You can put a block in between your inner upper thighs if that works for you. You can also use a strap to just tie your legs so they don't open more than hip distance apart. So you'll choose which one works best for you. We'll take a moment to pause so everybody can get whatever prop they want. Great. And then once you're here, plant your feet firmly on the floor. Make sure they stay hip distance apart, but then notice if you need to turn your heels in a little bit or out a little bit so it feels good for your knees. And then when you're ready, you'll inhale and push down through your feet and lift your hips high. Those that have the strap, you're going to push out into your strap and push down into your big toes. Those that have the block, I want you to hug into the block, pushing down into your big toes, and then lift your outer hips up. Everyone, walk your right shoulder up to your right ear and then wrap it underneath you, and then wrap your left shoulder up to your left ear and wrap it underneath you. Now you can choose to stay here with your arms straight. You can interlace the hands, or you can bend the elbows like happy little robots. But wherever you are, the shoulder blades are hugging together on the back of your body like that pencil is there, and you're still squeezing it. You're pushing down through the feet to lift your hips, and then the sternum is coming towards your chin as your chin is tucking in slightly towards your sternum. And you'll take a moment to pause, and you'll take a moment to breathe, continuing to lengthen buttocks, flesh back towards your knees. Awesome sauce. When you're ready, you'll gently unclasp the hands, untuck the shoulders, and bring the pelvis down to the floor. Cool. If you have props, I encourage you to get rid of them if you want to do this next thing. Otherwise, you can repeat what we just did. All right, so feet are hip distance apart, hands are alongside your hips. Go ahead and robot your arms already. Okay, now shrug your shoulders up towards your ears and walk the shoulder blades underneath you. Inhale, push through the elbows, the back of the head, and the feet, and lift your hips high. And as you exhale, see if you can walk the shoulder blades even closer underneath you. Some of you will start to walk your feet closer towards your head. And you might be able to lift your hips high enough to slide your hands underneath your butt to hold your butt. Otherwise, you'll just keep your elbows as they are, and then lift just your right leg up towards the sky and breathe for 3, and breathe for 2, and breathe for 1, and then lower the right leg down, and then you'll switch sides and lift just the left leg up, and breathe for 3, and breathe for 2, and breathe for 1, and lower the left leg down. If that worked for you, repeat that. Otherwise, both legs might come up, and you might hold both your hips in both hands. And you'll pause and you'll breathe wherever you happen to be. Inner thighs hug together if you've got both legs up. Feet reach up, shoulder blades wrap underneath. There you go, Laura. And all the weight is still staying in your arms, so none of it's in the shoulders or in the neck. And those that are up for modified shoulder stand, you'll gently bend one knee and put the foot on the floor, and then gently bend the other knee and put the other foot on the floor. Everyone will mindfully come out of their bridge pose, engaging the backs of their legs, and then bring the pelvis all the way down to the floor and pause. Now this time as we're here, you're just going to notice what you notice, what parts of the body are talking to you. And we're going to try that stretch that we took just a little bit ago. So reach your zombie arms up towards the sky. Hug your front ribs into your back body and then reach your arms up and over your head. Palms might face the sky or they might continue to face each other. From here, imagine that you're lengthening your tailbone down towards your heels, and then maybe reach your right leg long beneath you, and then maybe reach your left leg long beneath you. And then continue to reach up through your fingers, continue to curl your tailbone down towards your feet, reach up through the fingers and soften the front ribs into the back body as you breathe. On your next exhalation, the hands come alongside your hips. And then just as a counter pose for that, extend your right arm alongside your ears. Roll over onto your right side. And then roll onto your belly. Okay. Now separate your feet as much as you need to, hip distance apart or wider. Bring your hands alongside your lowest ribs, and you're going to come up to Cobra in whatever way feels best to you, but you'll just pause and breathe. We haven't done Cobra at all this class, so just notice what this feels like. You might find that surprisingly, you come up a lot higher than you would think you would. And then very gently lower all the way back down to your belly button. When you get down to your abdomen, stack your hands right on top of each other. Listen very closely. Check in with your body. Some of you will want to have your toes touching each other and your heels rolling out. Some of you will prefer to have your feet to the outer edges of the mat with your big toes rolling towards the floor and your pinky toes rolling up. I encourage you to try both options and see what feels better to you. And then we're going to stay in this shape for about 2 to 3 minutes. And I encourage you to once again first start by finding our proprioception, noticing the parts of the body that are in contact with the floor. And once you started to notice where the knees or the feet touch, where the pelvis touches, you might start to notice the interoception, the internal aspect. So noticing how when you breathe into your belly, you can feel the belly press into the floor, but also lift into the low back. And you might begin to notice that as you continue to just keep your awareness on the belly, breathing down into the floor, it's almost like a balloon that starts to lift the ribs and lift up towards the collarbones. But as best as you can, coming back to that diaphragmatic breath that we started with, continue to breathe into the abdomen and then into the ribs and then into the collarbones. And noticing then where you can soften around the neck and the shoulders. And you've got just one more minute here breathing. And then I'd like you to take a moment to check in, see if this shape feels like something that is comfortable for you to stay in. And you might choose to take your Shavasana here, or you might choose to roll over onto your back and take the more traditional Shavasana. But I encourage you to take the choice that really allows you to be still and yet alert. And as we find ourselves into this final shape, I'd like us to direct our breath very consciously. So you'll inhale for about 4 or 5 counts. You'll hold your breath for about 4 or 5 counts. And then you'll exhale for about 8 or 10 counts. So you'll inhale 4 or 5 counts. Hold the breath 4 or 5 counts. And then exhale 8 or 10 counts. So what this is doing is, by breathing in this manner, we're doing a few things, but one, we're focusing the mind. 2, we're momentarily stimulating your sympathetic nervous system to promote a deeper engagement or evocation of your parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is sparked by the hold, but then the exhalation, being twice as long as the hold and the in-breath, allows a deeper rest. And so you'll take 2 more complete breath cycles on your own. The in-breath being 4 or 5 counts, the hold being 4 or 5 counts, and then the exhalation being 8 or 10 counts. And at the end of your next exhalation, just to let go of the breath. And allow it to be natural and neutral, doing whatever it wants to do. Return your awareness. And then from wherever you are, start to make your way to your right side. And you'll just take a moment and pause here. Gently start to press yourself to a tall, comfortable seat. And when you come to vertical, I encourage you to sit up tall and to sit up well. And as we take a moment, notice where to place the hands on the body so that the collarbones can just open, so that the heart has the opportunity to come forth. Notice how you can soften any tension around your shoulders, around your jaw, on the throat, and your eyes. And the gaze might remain inward, or the eyes might be just on the floor in front of you. But I'd like you to just notice the sound of your own breath. Noticing the feeling of your own breath. Whenever the mind starts to wander, you simply notice that and you come back to the breath. I'd like to end with a quote from Present Through the End. Kristen DeLeo writes, "Don't be afraid when another person grows silent. Pauses and silence in a conversation are as important as the words that are spoken. When people are vulnerable and hurt, silence takes on a much deeper meaning. These intricate, innate, and intimate moments of silence are like the invisible threads that magically weave and hold together the truth of what really needs to be expressed. For in silence, one's inner voice has the chance to emerge, and one can relate with greater clarity to both self and to others." So as you take these last few moments here, I'd like you to just notice however that resonates with you, if it resonates with you. Allowing the threads to be woven to express your greater truth and the truth that each of us is here to serve. We'll go ahead and complete our practice with a simple salutation. So bring your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms towards each other. Receive the thumbs into the sternum and lift your heart towards your hands. Allow your chin to bow towards your chest. And we end our practice by saying, "The light within me honors and salutes the light within each of you." Namaste.